He spent years as a key member of President Obama's administration. Ben Rhodes, former deputy national security advisor, met candidate Obama for debate prep in 2007, stayed with him until 2016. When the results of the 2016 election were announced, cameras were following him and saw his stunned reaction.
I can't even. I can't. I mean, I can't. I can't put it into words. I don't know what the words are.
And Ben Rhodes joins us now. Probably not easy for you to watch.
Try to
Rhodes
be a little more articulate.
Yeah, Ben is the author of the new book, The World as It Is, a memoir of the Obama White House. And looking at that video, which was election night, you actually write about the morning after the election. You had a hard time, obviously, putting it into words there. But once you thought about it, you actually had more of an explanation.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people, I thought Hillary Clinton was going to win the election. And in writing the book, actually, I relived the campaign in the morning after the 2008 campaign. In the morning after the election in 2016, I thought to myself, the message that Trump used to win that election, if you took out what I would think is some of the racism and misogyny that was in his campaign, it was essentially change. It was, she's a part of a corrupt establishment, and she won't bring change, and I will. And it was kind of horrifying to realize that the same type of message that we'd used in 2008 had been repurposed to essentially succeed in 2016, albeit in a very different way.
Now, Maureen Dowd is someone who has clearly read your book, given it a lot of press. I can't tell, honestly, if she likes it or not, but she chose to write a scathing column about it. Scathing not so much about you, but about the president. And she essentially says that President Obama should have known what you realized the morning after the election. She says Obama threw his weight behind the most status quo elitist candidate. Where were the next Barack Obamas? Obama never had been about party building. He was a man alone in the arena.
Well, in hindsight, it's always easy to say, first of all, that we could have orchestrated out of the White House somebody else. She mentions Vice President Biden. There was that tragedy with his son the summer before the Democratic primaries, which really, I think, did inform his decision. But one of the interesting things, and I've actually talked to President Obama about this, is he ran at a pretty young age. And in a way, generationally, his time would have been more likely to be now. And there was a bit of a generation gap in the Democratic Party there. And we'll see what happens in the next campaign. I think there'll be a lot of people running because there are a lot of younger people and people who span different generations. So it is true that there wasn't a lot of people on stage for the Democrats in the primary in 2016. And part of that may have been that President Obama kind of dominated a certain generation of Democrats and frankly cut the line in 2008 when he was able to defeat Hillary Clinton.
But party building wasn't his thing. I mean,
yeah, no, and part of it, look,
that's a missed opportunity, particularly the first 2 years of the administration.
Yes, and I think what some of us, when we internalize that criticism, also think though is when you're in the White House, you come in the first 2 years, you've got the financial crisis, you're drinking from a fire hose, and yes, being disciplined about party building was not at the top of our list, and that ended up being very important to protecting our legacy. So, you do look back on that and think, what could we have done?
And again, another clip from the book, or an excerpt that's getting a lot of press, is when you say, the president asked, what if we were wrong?
Yeah.
Basically about that. To me, there were three candidates in this election. There was Donald Trump, there was Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama, to an extent. And it's hard to look.
Maybe Vladimir Putin.
But it's hard to look at the results of the election as anything other than a reaction to President Obama. And you write about this a lot. It's got to be hard. Has it been hard for him to come to terms with that?
Well, what I write about essentially is that he went through the same process as a lot of us. Election night, he called me kind of shell-shocked. Oh, that happened. What do we do now? Let's pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off. He tried out, how much was it the Russians, the Comey letter. He was working through these different theories of what might have taken place. Could the Democratic campaign have been run better? I think what he was referring to in the what if we were wrong comment was more, in a general sense, the pace of change in the United States and, frankly, large parts of the world around trade and immigration, that change may have gotten ahead of people's desire to feel rooted in their identity. And, frankly, sometimes that can be manipulated, I think, to fall back into your tribe and have an us versus them politics. I think that You can overread it as a rebuke of him. As I say, I think he probably would have won a third term if he could have run. But you can't ignore, and you have to wrestle with, as progressives and Democrats, when something like this happens. I do hope that in the long run, 10, 20 years from now, America is going to look more like Barack Obama's America than Donald Trump's, and that's what people like me are obviously going to try to work for and pursue.
I'm old enough to have covered the 2008 presidential campaign, and I vividly remember President Obama was criticized for saying exactly who he would sit down with and have talks with. Yeah. Remember this.
I will meet not just with our friends, but with our enemies. I will meet without preconditions. That does not mean I will meet without preparation.
I will meet without preconditions. People forget the I will, that doesn't mean I will not meet without preparation. And maybe these two things are relevant because, of course, President Trump is about to sit down with Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
You know, meeting without preconditions is something President Obama suggested he would do.
Yeah.
He didn't do it with Kim Jong-un or Kim Jong-il, his father at that point. Are you supportive now of the President Trump doing it without preconditions, really?
Yeah, well, first of all, I went to work on the campaign that week, and he said he'd meet with the leaders of Iran, Cuba, North Korea without preconditions. The entire Republican Party pounced on that as naive and irresponsible, so it's kind of bizarre to see a position that was horrible if Barack Obama took it suddenly embraced by the other side. I favor diplomacy, and I'm glad that they're pursuing diplomacy. I think the preparation point is critical, though. Cuba is a country that we had an opening to. I must have had 20 meetings with the Cubans before Barack Obama met with them. I do worry that they're moving a little quickly into the presidential level summit without doing that preparation, without being clear about what are we trying to achieve here, what is success, how can we measure for ourselves what constitutes a good summit, what is the follow-through to it.
Ben Rhodes, great to have you with us. The book is The World as It Is. Appreciate you being here.
Great, thanks.